then have a take on it through taxes and etc. And so that is one of the great visions. And it was based on agriculture and agro-processing, taking off from there, and then the smelter industry, and then also having a huge reserve of energy. Now, what do you think we can do to rapidly industrialize?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe this is a central theme of the President's vision to move our economy from a raw material exporter to an industrialized value addition one. The 10-point industrialization agenda of the government is geared towards achieving this. The one district, one factory, special economic zones, ensuring that the MSMEs are developed. The 10-point industrialization agenda, Mr. Chairman, is just to ensure that the agenda of industrialization, adding value to our raw materials, getting us ready for the platform of after all the agreements that we have entered into. These are all mechanisms that would help us to add value to our raw materials. Our strategic anchor industries, for instance, which are the growth pillars that government has identified beyond the traditional industries that we know, auto, pharmaceuticals, iron, bauxite. These are all intended to come together to ensure that we are adding value to our raw materials, we are self-sufficient, and then we're able to export to the international market. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I don't know if I still have some questions to ask, but let me just say that in terms of industrialization, the trend is not towards states establishing factories and etc. But the trend is towards making yourself competitive. And to make yourself competitive, you are looking at what is the energy cost to an investor in a certain factory in Ghana relative to Togo, relative to Burkina Faso, relative to Ivory Coast. Okay? What is transport cost? What is labor cost? Is that okay? What is the level of skills of labor? If you just give people money to set up factories, and yet the country is not competitive as a manufacturing center, there are bottlenecks to people. It just won't work. You will have buildings scattered all over the place with factory written on them, but it just won't happen. So what do you think is the main challenge now that needs to be fixed for rapid industrialization?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the operating environment is crucial. Cost of credit, cost of power, infrastructure, these are all very crucial matters. But the policy framework is also very fundamental. The thinking to ensure that people are able to come along the vision and are empowered enough to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that you are putting in place. I think they must work together. And the vision is important, the policy framework is important, the laws that you're putting in place is important, the operating environment is equally important, and I believe these must all come together to ensure that we're able to achieve the vision of industrialization. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I must commend Herbert for this nomination.
Thank
and
you,
also
Mr. Chairman.
to disclose that he's my very good friend. Indeed, I see him as a younger brother. Very brilliant and also quite political.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, that's where it starts. Yes, he's very political. I like it. And very brilliant. Yes, Herbert. My first question is about the Obantapa package, the 100 billion package. The Minister for Finance, Honorable Kenofrata, when he was launching the program, said that the government wants to place the youth at the center of the program. What exactly do you know about this package, and how does it help the youth?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, following the ravaging effect of COVID-19 on the economy, the government put together the Ghana Cares Obatapa program to try and do two main things: to stabilize many of our industries and firms, and then to also revitalize them and then get them back working as they should. The agenda is to make sure that government is investing mainly in MSMEs, in the productive sectors of the economy, where we find the youth, particularly in that bracket, to make sure that they are able to resuscitate, make sure that they are stabilized, and then they are able to get back to get the economy working again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, there is also the trade value chain. How do you think the SMEs should be empowered to take advantage of the trade value chain?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the medium, small, micro enterprises, MSME as we call them, I think we know the statistics. They form a chunk of the the firms and the companies and the workforce that we have in Ghana, contribute about 70% of our GDP. They are a critical force that needs to be paid attention to. The government support has been mainly in twofold. First is the policy framework, where we have instituted the MSME and entrepreneurship policy, first of its kind, to coordinate and provide support, regulatory financial support for the MSME sector. And then the other part has been the institutional framework, where we have seen the NBSSI metamorphose into the Ghana Enterprises Agency, which would be the apex body that would supervise MSME activities in the country and make sure that they have the necessary support to operate. The 10-point industrialization agenda features MSME very critically as well. Their development, their promotion, enhancing financing towards them. And of course, there's also an agenda in there that allows a strong linkage between industry and the MSME to ensure that they are feeding into the trade value chain. And of course, we have the broader issue of the free trade area, where the MSMEs can also feed into that market. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. The last one would be
ministry's role itself, the understanding of the role that the ministry, that sector has to play is crucial, because that is what would dovetail into the policies, the institutions, the laws that will be passed to regulate that sector. I believe that a lot of attention has been paid in terms of the institutional framework to allow for the vision of growing the private sector to be fruitful. I think that a lot more work needs to be done in terms of attracting private sector investment, deepening the enabling environment to ensure that you're able to attract private sector investment. And while you're doing so, making sure that the regulatory, institutional, legal, financial components are all structured well enough for investors to feel comfortable to come into that sector. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Agaga. Congratulations, Herbert. And,
thank you, Senior.
let me place it on record that it's my in-law. But that notwithstanding, I would exact my pound of flesh. For which one? For the against your sister, or for which are you exacting the pound of flesh? Anyway, so Herbert, congratulations.
Thank you, Senior. Thank you very much.
Yes. Now, Herbert, if given the nod, you're going to assist Honorable Alan Chiramanteng to work as Minister for Trade. But in recent times, there has been so much talk about African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, what is your understanding of African Free Continental Trade Area?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the Continental Free Trade Area is a single duty-free, quota-free market to boost intra-African trade between a population of 1.2 billion people with a GDP of $3.4 trillion. That is expected to hit about $6.7 trillion by 2030. So this agreement is the platform for boosting intra-African trade amongst the 54 signatory African countries. It has protocols on goods in trading goods, trading services, dispute resolution, intellectual property, investment, as well as intellectual property. Yes, Mr. Chairman. It is to promote trade amongst African countries. It is arguably the biggest thing to happen since the formation of the OAU in 1963, and it is Africa's current flagship program under its Agenda 2063. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, good. Now, Herbert, we've walked this path before when ECOWAS was first launched in 1975. I mean, one of the, if you like, things ECOWAS was meant to promote was the creation of a free trade area. After so many years of ECOWAS existence, that never materialized. Today we're talking about the African Continental Free Trade Area, and we're all excited about it. I mean, what assurance do we have that the African Continental Free Trade Area will not just remain, I mean, on our books and not materialize, I mean, just like we saw in the case of ECOWAS?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, one of the best things about it is the fact that it takes lessons from the various other blocks that we have on the continent. And indeed, it is those lessons that contributed to what we now know as the 7 clusters of the BIAT. Trade facilitation, trade finance, trade-related infrastructure, factor market integration, trade information, boosting productive capacity, enhancing productive capacity. These are the clusters around which the Continental Free Trade Area is intended to operate. The idea is that once the various countries fashion their trade policies around these clusters and their national implementation plan is in respect of these clusters, we should be able to achieve what the free trade area is intended for. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Now, the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area is hosted by Ghana. And once again, I think at some point the matter was politicized, and I wasn't too happy about it. I mean, matters that have to do with the collective shouldn't be politicized. I mean, we're all happy that at least an African Union initiative has been brought to Ghana as a result of the pioneering work of our first president. So Ghana, I mean, occupies a very special and unique place so far as the AU is concerned. But, I mean, having said that, we are the host country, the Secretariat is in Accra. How advantageous is it for us as Ghanaians to have the Secretariat located right here in our capital?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe that it has benefits to the people of Ghana. First of all, the whole industry of tourism and hospitality should be able to receive a boost from us hosting the Secretariat here. I believe also that it gives us an advantage if we are strategic enough to be able to make Ghana the commercial capital of Africa. If we are able to attract the big firms to site their headquarters here in Accra, and we are beginning to see that already. I believe that that's an advantage that we can also, if we are strategic, benefit from. Of course, it's the job creation. Of course, it's the enhancing the skills capacity of our young people. These are all advantages, Mr. Chairman, that I believe we gain from hosting the Secretariat here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
The very last question. So, if you're giving the nod, how would you assist? How do you intend to assist the sector minister, the Honorable Alain Chiremanteng, to take full advantage of the African Continental Free Trade area? Because this is a matter that affects trade. So how do you intend to position our country to take full advantage of the initiative?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, a lot has been done. So much has been done in terms of positioning Ghana to take advantage of the free trade area. The institutional support framework, the interministerial committee, the steering committee, the technical working groups, the stakeholder engagement platforms. These have all been put in place to ensure that Ghana takes good advantage of the platform. I believe going forward, we need to, and the brief I have shows that the ministry is working on that, identify products that have high export potential, identify companies that have the capacity to do so, identify those that we will train and help to be able to take advantage of it. Like Honorable Senior said earlier, the operating environment also has to be looked at. And I believe that the 10-point, again, we keep coming back to it, but the 10-point industrialization agenda really is to ensure that we enhance domestic capacity so that we're able to take advantage of the platform that has been given to us. I believe these are things that are being done already. When given the nod, I would make my services available to the Honorable Minister if he needs me. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Boma.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, Senior. Thank you.
I'm told the Ministry of Trade has this agency under it, Ghana Heavy Equipment Limited.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And they are supposed to do what for us? Oh, sorry, I'm asking the nominee.
It's for the benefit of the entire committee, so kindly be audible.
Herbert, you know of the Ghana Heavy Equipment Limited?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And what are they supposed to do for the country?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The little brief I have on it, on the heavy equipment, is ensure that the heavy equipment, manufacturing equipment, they regulate and supervise the work of industry that utilizes such equipment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm told they are not doing well from the information they just sent to me, that coming to the ministry, they will want some attention on that sector because they are supposed to produce a lot of equipment for the farming industry, and they think Ministry of Trade must do more. My second question is on what do you think are some of the strategic trade poles that this country hasn't taken advantage of, that you think you would assist your minister to look at?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the trade poles that are being identified under the strategic anchor industries are supposed to diversify the attention that we have given to the traditional trade sector or industry. We're talking about the areas of bauxite, for instance. We haven't paid much attention in terms of value addition. We have really been in the sector of exporting our bauxite. Iron and steel, the components of the industrialization agenda and the strategic anchor industries, pharmaceuticals. How are we able to ensure that we are adding more production lines, adhering to standards, and ensuring that we are generating new poles of industrialization? I believe that is what forms the strategic anchor industries plan of the ministry, and I believe that when given the nod, I would assist my honorable minister in that regard.
Chairman, the last one is on ICOMs.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I think your ministry is in charge of that.
Partly, Mr. Chairman.
And are you happy with their performance so far?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I believe that the performance of the Integrated Customs Management System, ICOMS, is something that we should herald. The data shows that within 6 months, the first 6 months of its implementation, 1.6 billion Ghana cedis has been saved for the country in terms of domestic revenue. I believe that such an integrated system, which the data shows is producing phenomenal results for the country, is something that we should all be proud of. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Congratulations, my brother.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, and also.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable nominee, congratulations once more.
Thank you very much, Senior.
In your answer to Honorable Agaga, you said our goal is to make Ghana the commercial capital of Africa.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
If that were possible.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And the whole essence of the African Continental Free Trade Area is to promote free movement of goods and services as a way of promoting trade.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Is that position not inconsistent with the president's inability or the government's inability to open up our land borders, particularly when these land borders are used by low-level traders to promote trade between the countries? Because as we speak now, if you go to Aflao, like Ghana's border is still closed. And all these low-level traders are unable to trade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe these are not long-term positions that have been taken. I believe that once the conditions are clear for the government to open any borders that are closed, they will be opened for trading to go on. Free movement of goods, free movement of services, free movement of capital is critical for enhancing trade and boosting trade amongst ourselves, and that's the way that the government is focused on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
As a follow-up, what conditions are we talking about? Because the airspace have been opened. People are traveling by. I feel that position is discriminatory to very poor people and low-level traders. And I don't know what conditions we are looking at.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think the government would set out to discriminate against poor people or low-level people, to use your language. I believe that the government, in its wisdom, taking into account how it wants to restrict movement in order to make sure that we are clear in terms of, for instance, the pandemic that we still should not be underrating and underestimating. I believe that when the government believes upon expert advice that it should open up, it will do so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you. I hope that government really takes steps to do that sooner, because a lot of the young people, or low-level traders around Aflao, Denu, those areas are really, really struggling to move goods and services. Now, the second major question has to do with a number of publications that we have here, When you look at the publication on Ghana Web on Wednesday, 26 August 2020, we have 40 foreign-owned shops closed down in Kumasi. You look at the Ghana Web story on 6th May 2020, we have Guta threatens to close down foreign shops owned in retail business. What would you do to support the minister to resolve this long-standing controversy or this long-standing conflict between our foreign partners who are in retail business in Ghana and our local traders?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe this is a matter that has plagued us for some time. And every time I think about it, it occurs to me that the reason is because it is very multifaceted. It has different dimensions. It has the rule of law dimension. It has some international law dimension. It has some dimension on the economy. I believe that any attempt to resolve it should include dialogue between the two countries. I understand that a lot of work is being done in that regard. I've been briefed that the seeming quiet that we have on that front currently is because of the high-level engagements that are going on. Mr. Chairman, if the committee would permit me, I would like to hold my thoughts on the matter, allow the committees that have been put in place, the cooperation and the dialogue that is going on to be complete. I understand that some recommendations are being made already. And when given the nod, my job will be to assist my honorable minister to implement these recommendations. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And finally, again, on Wednesday, 21st April 2021, it was reported that Cocoa Board expressed worry over production and export of cocoa beans in China. And again, on 22nd April 2021, the Greek minister assessed that China's cocoa export, Cocoa Board and Agric Ministry assesses impact. What, in your opinion, will be the impact of the production of cocoa in China?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe this is a very new development that is taking all of us quite by storm. I think it just tells us that we must enhance our domestic productive capacity and ensure that we are adhering to the standards of production so that the long-held view and respected, enjoyed taste of Ghana cocoa would remain across the globe. Whatever competition that you are facing, I believe, Mr. Chairman, that once you have enhanced your own capacity, once you are not resting on your oars and enjoying in the old glory that you have, the competition should put us on our toes. I believe standards, I believe the value addition aspect is something that we should pay attention to as well, not only exporting the raw beans. These would be my initial thoughts on the matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Honorable Suhini before.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Sorry? Congratulations, Honorable Nominee.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, a few issues on your CV. Region, Volta region, hometown, Botoku. Is Botoku in the Volta region?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is.
And that's your hometown?
Yes, please, Mr.
I thought
Chairman.
you were from the Oti region.
My mother is from Oti region. My father is from Botoku.
Okay. I think the Honorable Minority Leader already addressed the issue of the if any. Page 2, primary school education, and then you put into bracket BECE. Shouldn't it be basic school education instead of primary school education?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it should be. I'll take a cue and make the correction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And then maybe finally, your hobbies, the science of the universe. How is that a hobby? Science of the universe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm very intrigued by the science of the universe, the planets, and the entire operation of the universe. Something that I spend some of my free time enjoying and studying. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I see. All right. Now to some substantive issues. And maybe I'll start on the political note, since Honorable Obiamwa says you are very political, for which reason he's excited about you, even though he's not so excited when others are very political. His Excellency the President, when he was campaigning to be president, made a number of promises. One was to change the face of the country in 18 months. I think his running mate was more specific. He said with the 1 district, 1 factory, and 1 million per constituency, in 2 years, no village or community in Ghana will have any problem with water and all of that. One thing the president also spoke of was the nature of our economy, being a Goggisbeck economy, and how perhaps he was going to transform that. As we speak, we still have a we still have economy that is backed by resource-backed loans. We still have a situation where we are taxing less than we are spending. We still have the rigidities in the budgets and all of that. What will you say has been the achievement of the president in terms of keeping this promise of turning our economy from a Goggisbeck economy to a modern economy? What exactly can you point to say that this is actually on the path for which you will support your minister at the Ministry of Trade to improve upon?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe that a lot is being done in that regard by the government of His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The industrialization vision is supposed to come together over a period of time. The policies are being put in place, the laws are being put in place, the strategic anchor pillars are being fashioned out. Some implementation has started already. The 1 district, 1 factory program, the strategic anchor industries, the plan to create free zones, special economic zones, and industrial parks. These are all achievements, the automotive industry, to make Ghana a hub for the automotive industry in terms of West Africa. These are all developments that are geared towards achieving that vision. It's not going to happen overnight, Mr. Chairman, but when you see the evidence coming together, you see the factories coming up, you see the support being given to factories that are economically viable but are distressed, that are viable but economically distressed. You know that the government is on course, and the evidence shows that that vision, if it is supported, Mr. Chairman, will see the light of day. Thank you very much.
Well, I was expecting you to mention one that wasn't happening before the president came to office. But as for factories that were distressed and supported by the state, it's always happened. Then I think that I'll refer
Chairman,
you to
I mentioned 1 district, 1 factory as well, which is a private sector-led, supported by the government to ensure that we are adding value to our raw materials.
And I'm saying what is happening under 1 district, 1 factory has always happened. I mean, it hasn't always been called 1 district, 1 factory, but it's always happened. But I am referring you to an academic piece that you wrote yourself, only in 2019, a portion I'll quote. And maybe in that academic piece, you were not political, and maybe that will put this in perspective. You say, and I quote, that the structure of Ghana's economy has remained Goggisbergian since Goggisberg. Then, as now, it was driven by the production and exports of raw materials. Our modern economy has at all times been at the mercy of external price fluctuations. The Ghana Beyond Aid agenda must change this structure and help us progress from merely producing raw materials to making semi-finished and finished goods. It requires doing away with doing things as usual, quote and unquote.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe that everything I said is something that I will stand by. I think that the vision of His Excellency the President is to move us from exporting raw materials alone to changing the structure of our economy by adding value, ensuring self-sufficiency, and exporting the excess into the global market. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
You were at the Ministry of Information as government spokesperson. Oh, one more. No, Mr. Chairman, we're just having a conversation on my first question.
This is not a conversation platform. Just proceed with the response.
All right, thank you. Were you paid any emoluments at the Ministry of Information when you worked as a government spokesperson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I was not. Indeed, part of the reasons I accepted to do that job was the fact that I will not receive any pay or any salary at all, none whatsoever from the government. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Finally, in one of your outings on behalf of the government, you indicated the government's readiness to make public the cost of the president's overseas trips, because recently the issue of the president chartering an air flight that which cost has been said to be very prohibitive, I think it's become necessary. Were you able to get that published, and do you think that it should be published so we know how much it costs the president to engage in these overseas trips?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think in the interest of transparency, I made that statement that any demand on the government to publish how much is spent in terms of the president's entourage and the president's, not just His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa akufo-addo, but any president, and how much that is spent on the president's trips outside, I believe it's a matter that should be made public to the Ghanaian people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Zara, you may take your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Honorable Nominee.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have just two questions. I have two questions for you this afternoon. Trade facilitation, as we all know, is part of the processes to make trade viable in any economic environment. Especially now that we have the African Continental Free Trade Area, what will you do with your minister when you get the nod to make sure that trade facilitation becomes part of your routine activities?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe that the dividend of the agenda, the trade agenda, would be reaped if we have a functioning trade facilitation regime. A lot is happening in that regard, starting from the reforms that we have seen at the ports, from the automated paperless system through the integrated customs management system, reducing the roadblocks that we have, ensuring that we have joint border posts with our neighboring countries. There's a lot that is being done. The railway sector is supposed to ensure trade facilitation as partly as well. An inland port is also on the table, Buankra Inland Port. I believe these are all geared towards ensuring that trade facilitation is promoted and enhanced. And when given the nod, I'd make myself available to the Honorable Minister to support this agenda. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My next question, what exactly is the problem with Volta Star Textiles? What's the problem with it? No one seems to have a heads-on on what the issue is, but all we know is that there are issues.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe Volta Star is not alone. There are quite a number of institutions that find themselves in such a distressed position. The brief I have from the ministry is that the ministry is coming out with a plan to put all of them together and ensure that they are giving the necessary support by way of private sector recapitalization so that they can get back on track. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Would we have any timelines to this so we can go back and check?
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, I'm unable to speak to that.
Not the one doing that, the ministry.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mr.
Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Congratulations, Honorable Nominee.
Thank you, Senior.
This is a small follow-up from your answer to the minority leader's question on Article 18. He asked you about the right to own a property per Article 18, and you said yes, if you are using that property for lawful business. So then it goes without saying that if it's unlawful, then something has to happen. But as a lawyer, you know that the thing that has to happen does not include burning of excavator. In the face of Article 19, which says that even if you are charged with a criminal offense, you are supposed to be given fair hearing. How do you juxtapose that with the burning of excavator? Please. How do you juxtapose that with the excavation, the burn of excavator without giving the owners any fair hearing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the right to a fair hearing is guaranteed by the Constitution. If the owner of a property that is being used for unlawful means shows up and would be given a hearing, that's guaranteed by the Constitution. But if the property is found without any human beings manning them because the state law enforcement agencies are on their heels and then they have absconded, I believe that there's no hearing available, and the president and the government has taken a position that these excavators that are being used for purposes of destroying our environment, the environment that we all owe an obligation to protect. I believe that that protection is what is the paramount interest of the president and the government. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Just because you said people are entitled to fair hearing, I'll let it go. But you know that if you meet an excavator at a site in the night and you are burning it, you have not even looked for the owner, but I'll let that pass.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So I'll give you a few statistics. You have really shown knowledge on the AFCT, FTA, but yes, after. You've shown knowledge. But let me give you a few statistics. The African Development Bank in 2014 said that international trade between the African countries is 16%. And then the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development also in 2017 said it was 16.6, compared to 68.1 in Europe, 59.4 in Asia, 55% in America. Now, the AU is estimating that with AFTA, the trade between African countries will move to 60% by 2022. Is this feasible?
Mr. Chairman, I believe in setting ambitious targets and equipping yourself to be able to meet those targets. I mentioned earlier about the 7 clusters of BIAT. If we are committed to adhering to those clusters and ensuring that each country is implementing the clusters according to how it has been fashioned in the policy, I believe that we should achieve some growth in the trade amongst African countries that would change the structure of our economies, create the needed jobs, ensure that MSME growth, trade linkages, enhancing productive capacity is all achieved. What is important is for the African people to reap the benefit from the free trade area. And if the target is over-ambitious, and it helps us to go beyond ourselves to ensure that we meet them, I believe it is not out of place. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Now, 1D1F, popular 1D1F. The interesting thing is that 1D1F is private sector led. And we all know that a businessman will put his money where profit will be good. What packages are you going to assist your minister to put in place to ensure that we do not export raw materials, as you have alluded in your article, but we export semi-processed raw materials or finished product? Because I give you an example of cashew. In 2019 alone, according to the Ghana Export Promotion Council, Ghana exported 394,452 tons of raw cashew. And why is it that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe that the factories that are coming up under 1D1F are intended to add value to raw materials. 56% of them are currently involved in agro-processing. 22% of them are involved in general manufacturing. 13% of them are involved in other enterprises. I believe that it is a good starting point to ensure that we are beginning to develop the culture and the habit of adding value to our raw materials. And then the strategic anchor industries can also come around to ensure that auto, for instance, is a huge sector for ensuring that we're able to go beyond assembly and start to manufacture some of these components. We have some of the raw material to be able to do that. I believe that the policy, the laws, the enabling environment is all being put together to achieve that objective. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I hope you go and actually walk the talk to make us proud. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Very well. Leadership. Do you want to ask a question?
Chairman, are you yielding? Is any of our colleagues, or I can conclude? All right, trade. Chairman, we should be concluding. I think that the nominee is a careful academic. I've noted his choice of words, answers to questions he doesn't want to commit. Safe to disagree with him and Chairman. When Chairman in his initial remarks drew your attention, and I agree with him on the principle, government as an enabler and facilitator of 1D, 1F. He was speaking, appreciating policy, but you know, as spokesperson for government, that you have gone beyond what Chairman thought was the concept. Because I'll share facts with you. 1D, 1F, Ghana Exim Bank have disbursed huge sums of money directly to persons who are involved in it. The government stimulus package, and I even have a problem with you, but that's not your sin, where you double count. Same company takes money from Ghana Exim, and the same company benefits from stimulus package. So what Chairman is suggesting to you, that's the only part I agree with him, is that when you go, again, are you even sure you are to assist your minister? Because the president initially, instead of placing 1D, 1F under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, created another bureaucracy. So that is why you didn't have harmony in terms of appreciating who did what. But like I said, it's not your sin. But I just thought that Chairman should know that beyond enabler, you use the word tax exemption, tax incentive, we've gone beyond that. And you know that for a fact. If you challenge me, I'll give you data now of 2021 comments on it. Now, to the Honorable Sosu, to the Honorable As for Honorable Agaga, you are in law subject to good behavior, so I won't go to his, I won't go to his matter. To the Honorable Sosu, you were careful with dimensions and then the storm. And to respond to him again, Chairman, I'm just helping the nominee. I'm encouraged by his temperament and as young person wanting to perform. Now, again, to what the Honorable Sosu sought to do, and I'm just helping you. When you go, you help your minister. The problem with foreigners in Ghana, what you and your ministry and government should do is to review the GIPC Act. Chairman, I had the privilege to shepherd the legislation in Parliament, passed by Parliament. What we did then, I believe with my deputy then, the Honorable Nilante, was to give a certain minimum capital requirement for foreigners operating in Ghana at 1 million Ghana cedis. That is where the difficulty is. So if you want to revise the law, do so. But you know, in Nigeria, they don't permit some Ghanaian businesses there, but we do. That's diplomatic. So just take that on board.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
They probably will need to do something about that. Now, my question. Rice importation, sugar importation, the crisis of our country. We are spending over 400 million US dollars importing sugar. We are spending close to 1 billion US dollars importing rice. And that is why our foreign exchange regime keeps suffering. And my view is that not until we expand exports, forget it, the epileptic fall of the city will continue. What's your take on that? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, promoting import substitution is very high on the agenda of the government. Mr. Chairman, in terms of rice, the government is collaborating with the Planting for Food and Jobs program to ensure that subsidized seeds and fertilizers are made available. Rice millers have been distributed across the country. There's a facility from the Agri Development Bank to aggregators to purchase the paddy rice from the farmers. Mr. Chairman, a lot is being done in terms of import substitution. I believe in terms of sugar, a national sugar policy has been approved. A bill, I understand, is being worked on to ensure that we have an integrated sugar manufacturing of sugar production industry to enhance domestic capacity and promote import substitution. And I believe
Chairman, sugar policy, sugar bill. I should pay respect to the memory of the late J.B. Dankwa. When I was Minister for Trade, our colleague MP led the Guatemala group to come and explore, together with the group from Japan, Marubeni were interested in it. And I recall the Honorable J.B. Dankwa argued very strongly that we needed a sugar policy and a sugar legislation because the sugar cartel will not even allow a country like Ghana to be on its own in terms of manufacturing of sugar locally. I'm simply asking, what will you do to assist your minister to reduce the sugar rice import bill of Ghana? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would avail myself to the Honorable Minister to help him implement the various policies that are being put in place to reduce the excessive importation of sugar and rice into this country. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Will you describe your government a success in reducing the import bill of sugar and rice as government spokesperson? How will you mark?
Mr. Chairman,
don't attempt it, but for me, I've asked a question. What's your marking?
Mr. Chairman, I believe a lot is being done and a lot more will be done.
Has a lot been achieved is my question. What has been achieved?
Mr. Chairman, once what the policies and the programs that have been put in place.
What has been achieved? Have your government reduced the rice sugar import bill? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, the policies and the programs that are being put in place, when they come together, I believe would help to reduce the importation of rice.
Chairman, the nominee, this is data which is available. We have to look at the import bill of rice and sugar for 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, which is available. I just want your take. You know, I know the difficulty of being a government communicator. In your view, have we reduced the rice sugar import bill?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the benefit of the data presently before me. I would have a look at that and then...
Chairman, save London for him. It's safer to be on the side of caution. Chairman, the other is just to end. And it's a concept that I encourage you, when you get to the ministry, you encourage your minister. And Chairman, I would end probably just with a comment. If you travel beyond Kumasi, Chairman was just discussing Akumadan, you pass Offensu from Kintampo through Wura, Dawa, I hope I got it right, up to Bolga. And you've lived life probably in this urbanized Accra like me. What excites me, Chairman, in the evening, when you drive to the industrial area and it's 5 p.m., you see huge numbers of young people, male and female, coming out. They've gone to work. They've earned some income. They are happy going home. You cannot say the same thing beyond Kumasi, even from Kumasi through Chairman's Bekwai, up to Agalga Sandima. You will not find a factory or an industrial establishment. Maybe when you get to Bupe, Savannah Cement too will provide you with that. From, I said from Bekwai to Sandima. I travel very far.
If you're coming from Cape Coast, I would have pointed out the factories.
Chama, I didn't want that road. So, you see, I'm just saying, you don't have establishment. You take the whole of Bono region. Show me an industrial establishment that employs 100 people. So, as a country, we should be conceptualizing, as the Chinese have done, the light manufacturing industry. What do you have to say to this? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the policy of the government to promote industrial parks, at least one in each region, special economic zones, ensure that we have factories in each district of our country. I believe these are policies that, if and when implemented, would help to decentralize and to move industrialization into the various parts of our country, like you've alluded to, Mr. Chairman. And I believe that when given the nod, I would assist my Honorable Minister in this regard. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, as I indicated, you are a government communicator. You know, there are times that you must just eat your humble pie. Your government, led by your candidate, President Nana Addo Dankwa, promised $1 million per constituency. So take your calculator, $1 million per constituency. How much is that in cedis for a year? That probably, if I change it at your own exchange rate, will give me 5.7 million. Is that right?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the benefit of my calculator, but I'll take your figure for it.
Use your phone and go to Bloomberg on the foreign exchange regime for today. So you even use the Dr. Baumia exchange rate, 4.2%. So 4 million, Vice President, 4 million per constituency. Have your government delivered that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe that was the vision of the special initiatives. It wasn't about providing physical $1 million to the constituencies. It was in.
So the physical, what is in Tamalesa for Mbekwa or in a Buri constituency, you have it?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the benefit of the achievement of the special.
There is no 4 million times 4 spent in any constituency. Are you aware? Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I'm unable to speak to the information that is being given to me,
so
but I know that.
So when it is failure, you are not able to talk. And when it is,
Mr. Chairman, I know that the 1 million.
Okay, and that failures have no friends. Don't worry. I'm just saying authoritatively that the $1 million per. The MPs are here. Those of you who are repeating, if toilets are, If toilets are worth $1 million, who earn it? Chairman, I think that the nominee has encouraged me with his attitude to our questions, very careful in his choice of words as an academic. My final will be to end with the African Continental Trade Agreement. I just think that we need to be very cautious because it can be another overambitious dream. We do have an opportunity as it was commissioned in Ghana, but probably if we don't get it right, I heard you in an answer to the Honorable Sosu talk about lessons from other blocks. And Chairman, I just end on that note. The European Union remains a symbol of continental unification and what that does to a common market. Even look at Britain and the strides it went through exiting from that market and the challenges it poses today. I pray that you and your minister and the president and other African heads of state will be sincere to your word in giving meaning to this. Chairman, on that note, I congratulate and wish the nominee well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Herbert,
Mr. Chairman.
I have no question for you. Just that I'll make this observation about AFCTA. You said what, 7 cluster areas that so far all the discussions are between governments and government officials on the African continent. We speak and exchange beautiful English language and French language, sometimes involving some Arabic language. The real traders, they don't speak good English, they don't speak Arabic, they don't speak French. What we should do, and it's an advice and a suggestion to you, that we should make sure we sell what it means, what the AFCTA means to the real traders in the languages they understand, if we are going to be able to take advantage of them. Trust them. If you teach them in the language they understand, they will master it. If we keep talking the big English we are used to, in the end, it will remain with the public officials, not the real traders. On that note, we thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions. You will hear from us later, but for now, you're discharged.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much to the committee for having me. Thank you.